Program 60 orientation, welcome. We are excited to have you join us today. For those that do not know me, my name is Lauren Fye, and I'm the Program 60 manager here at Ohio State University. Of those of you that maybe this is your first time, I welcome you and I look forward to getting to know you. Those of you that jumped on that maybe this is just you're jumping on for a refresher, or maybe there's just some clarification you need, I appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning to get a little better grasp of the process itself. The reason why I'm here is, well, I'm here to help support you through your higher education journey through Program 60. But how I got into higher education through this program is my background is in long-term care. I'm a licensed nursing administrator as well as an activity director consultant. And I did some collaborations with Ohio State when I worked in long-term care. And I saw the furthering need of being able to provide opportunities for engagement later in life. And a great passion of mine is higher education. And so it kind of intersected those passions. And that's how I land my job here. So I'm excited to be able to help you pursue whatever your passions are, whether it's you're trying to take classes for, recreational purposes, or maybe you just want to learn more skills, or maybe, you're retired and maybe you just want to keep up with certain information from your degree that you obtained previously. So whatever your reasons to be here, I'm excited to be able to get to know you and help you through this. So before we kind of jump in, a couple just other housekeeping things. Like I said, I'll just keep an eye on the chat. Feel free to get up, stretch throughout this point. This is being recorded. So before we get into more of the information about the enrollment processes and setup things that are part of the initial startup for Program 60, we're just going to take just a high-level overview look of Program 60 and eligibility requirements. I know some of you maybe just be jumping on and weren't able to join us for the information session. So this is just kind of a high-level overview of that. So feel free to take notes, and maybe this is something to be mindful of that. Maybe you weren't aware of these eligibility requirements and things like that. So we'll go ahead and get started with this. So Program 60 was started in 1973. The president at the time, Dr. Emerson, traveled with his wife to Colorado, and on their vacation, they decided to go to the University of Denver. I'm not sure why you would just choose to go on vacation to a college, but hey, to each his own. From there, they met up with some friends that were higher ups in the university, and they saw that Colorado had a program called Program 65 that allowed those that are 65 and older to pursue higher education in any classes they have on campus. So Dr. Emerson actually thought, man, this is an incredible opportunity. He actually cut his vacation short and traveled back to Ohio State. In the winter in 1974, they actually proposed, hey, we would like to, have this program come to our campus. And the board voted unanimously and stated they wanted Program 65 on campus. Well, a lot of people were like, well, Lauren, Program 60, what happened Program 65? Well, what happened was about a year later, the U.S. Census came through and they indicated that there was an increased number of those that are 16 older. And the state of Ohio actually passed legislation. So actually any state-funded university in the state of Ohio has to offer a program such as this. But based off of the census levels, they changed it from 65 to 60. So Ohio State followed suit and changed it from 65 to 60, hence the name Program 60. So that's kind of I like history, and it's a fun fact, just so you're aware of, historically Program 60 in general. This program is tuition free, but I do want to indicate that even though it is tuition free, there are some fees that are associated with some classes. Now, I'm going to show you how to, see like if there's a fee, and it's usually anywhere between like 50 and like 300, but it's not with every class. That's just basically materials fees, lab fees, book fees. So that's just being mindful if that's something that you're, making sure maybe you don't want to pay, any fees, look out for that when you're looking at classes. But I'll show you how to do that. So you're in charge of those fees. This is also offered to anyone that's a current Ohio citizen. So let's say you've lived in the state of Ohio for like your whole life and you recently moved to Florida. Unfortunately, even though you've had that all your whole life in the state of Ohio, if you're currently not a resident in Ohio, you're unfortunately unable to participate. And that's just due to this being state legislation. They want it to be a benefit for those that are 16 and older. So that's one caveat. You also have to, so like, let's say you just moved to Ohio. So let's say you moved just today. Let's say you moved in today and you are, you want to participate. So you have to be a current Ohio citizen for the past 12 consecutive months. So what that means is you wouldn't be able to participate until a year from now. And so unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to participate up until that point. So that's just something to be mindful of. This is also based off instructor permission and space availability basis, which we'll go a little bit more into detail about that. But basically, that's just you're going into these classes as any other student that's on campus. We're taking classes for audit. So we are the very last enrollment period of time, and we basically how the program 60 works is we're able to be a student in these classes with any seats that are available at the time. So sometimes we'll go in a little bit more in detail. There's a little bit of, navigating and seeing what makes sense. And I'll show you how to do that too as well. But that's just something to be mindful of too. So program 60 also allows you to participate in any undergraduate and graduate level classes, again, based off instructor permission and as well as seat availability. Now, for graduate level courses, you also have to get department permission. And that's just simply because with a lot of graduate level courses, they have only X amount of seats for those that are getting classes for degrees. And so they want to make sure you have the right, prerequisites or whatever that might be your experiences in the past. So you have to get both instructor permission and department permission. We go over that a little bit more in detail. And obviously, as you continue your higher education journey through Ohio State, I'm here to help. We can help you navigate that too as well. You're also taking classes for audit. So what that means is you're not taking classes for credit. So you don't get credit and you don't get a transcript from this. And a thing about this too as well is when you're taking classes, the system does not account for, any classes you may have taken to be as a prerequisite for another class you're trying to take. So that's where that instructor permission goes into play. And we'll continue and I'll show you how to really sell yourself in the instructor permission form. So that's something to be, mindful of too as well. All right. So I know I kind of went through that. There's more information on the Program 60 website. We also have on that link that I posted in the chat, a direct link to recordings, one over the information session that goes a little bit more into detail about those requirements. So any questions, you can refer to that or feel free to email us. So now we are at the point where we are going to go right into it, the thick of it. This is the steps to get into, actually go through the Program 60 process. Now, a lot of you already did, steps 1, which is awesome. But we'll just do a high level overview of that in case those of you that jump on this call that maybe haven't completed that, you have until the 19th to register to be in the program. So it's a one-time registration, but we're going to go through all the steps that are on the website. So if you're following along, feel free to pull up the Program 60 website as we'll be navigating that a lot today as a resource. But you can also use that participation guide that I put in the chat too as well. All right, so step 1, like I said, a lot of you already completed this. This is the one-time registration to be in the program. So think of it as, a sign-up, the one-time sign-up to get in the program. You have to complete this in order to be in the program and enroll in classes for the term. Let's say you decide maybe you're not planning on participating or enrolling classes for this term. Maybe you plan on enrolling in autumn term. That's okay. You just have to be one-time sign up to be in the program. And then from that point, if you decide not to enroll in classes that term that you've signed up to be in the program, that's okay. Your account never gets deactivated unless you tell us to. So that's something to be mindful of. But this sign up is open up 3 times a year right before enrollment. And this is something you have to complete only once. So this period, like I said, ends the 19th at 3 p.m. So we'll go ahead and go to the Program 60 website just so you can kind of see, for those that haven't done that, where you need to go. And like I said, we're going to use the Program 60 website frequently today. So I'm going to type in the search engine program60.osu.edu. And it takes you to this main page. And what I'm referencing to, the sign up is under this participate tab. This is where we're going to be at the whole day today, is this tab right here going through. Step 1 is the one-time sign up. There's a big red button here. I'm not going to go through the sign up because we did this during the information session. So if you do have questions, refer to that video that's recorded. But you can kind of go here and you click that. Once you've done that, it takes about 7 days to process. You'll first get an initial email, probably the day of, saying it's been confirmed you've submitted your your registration to be in the program. Once you get that, it takes 7 days from that point, and you'll receive an email that assigns your last name .number. A question that I often get is, what if you are a current staff member or maybe a previous student at Ohio State and you know that number? What will happen is you can't do anything until you receive that email with the last name .number. So regardless, even if you know you have a last name .number, you still have to wait until that email. And the reason for that is, behind the scenes, we have to update your account to reflect as a Program 60 participant. So that's important. So you won't be able to move on to any steps until you've done this. From that standpoint, then we can move on to the next steps. Some of you already received some emails from me, which is awesome. I usually will forward a document that outlines any helpful tips and tricks with completing the next several steps. Like I said, if you haven't done this yet, do this. It's open until the 19th. All right. From there, we're going to go ahead and open this up. Once you've completed that step 1 registration, and once you've received that email that has the last name .number, I would wait about a day after you receive that, just because sometimes the system sends things a little bit sooner, and our systems they're not automatic. So it does take a little bit of process. So if you try it and it doesn't work, try the next day. That's just a helpful tip. But once you've received that last name .number, you're going to move on to step 2, which is activating that ID. Now, for those of you that maybe are current staff members, you won't have to complete this step because you're already in the system. They just have to update your account as Program 60. It's also not going to affect your staff status as well. This is more so on the end of things as you being a participant and you enrolling classes. It won't affect your work accounts by any means. So just so you're aware. But this is the next step for those that this is your first time or haven't participated in the program, or you're not a current staff member. You're then going to go to step 2. And this is activating that last name .number. And these first 3 steps, just know you have to do it in order. You won't be able to move around. Until you get these steps completed, then that's when you can move on to the next steps. So just be mindful of that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go back to the Program 60 website because, again, I believe it's a great resource and a great way to visualize things. So we're going to go back to the Program 60 website. And like I said, most of us have already completed step 1. So you check mark step 1. Once you receive that last name .number, you move to step 2, which is right under step 1. You click that, and it's going to outline how to activate your ID. So you're actually just going to go to this link right here. So to activate your Ohio State username, you're going to click my.osu.edu. You can also type in the chat if you want. From there, it's going to come to this screen. Ohio State's really big on red buttons. So if you forget where to go, things like that, and this only has to be done once. So it's not like you have to continuously remind yourself how to do this. You're always going to go to the big red button. So for this, you're going to go to Activate Now. You're going to click that. And then you're going to click, I need an activation code. And that's just because you're brand new, you don't have code, whatever that might be. You're going to click, I need an activation code. From there, you're going to type in that last name, that number, that email that got sent to you from your registration. You're going to type that here. So you're going to type in the last name, that number. So I'm going to put in mine. I'm also going to put in my number, my name, and my last name. And then date of birth. Again, that's not my birthday, just so you guys know. But once you put in that information here, you're then going to click next. Unfortunately, since I'm already activated, I can't move on to the next step. But what will happen is it'll click next. And then there'll be a couple buttons in regards to how do you want a code sent to you. And this is how they authenticate your account. So there's a way to send an email, a text, and I believe a phone call as well. But from there, you'll click one of those. And then once you receive that code, you'll type it in the box that will be prompted once you click that. And then from there, once that's cleared, then it'll ask you to create a password. It's generally like at least an 8-letter password. Has to have special code, characters, things like that. But it'll outline that on that section. So that's how you do that. And once you've submitted that password's accepted it, then it'll pop up with the screen saying, okay, you've been successfully activated. And from there, then you can move on to the next step of this process. Now, a couple things that may occur, and I did include in that document if you did register already to be in the program. Sometimes what will happen is if you accidentally, when you're filling out your registration sign up, sometimes if you accidentally put in wrong numbers for your birthday, or like if you have different spellings of your name, or maybe a different phone number or email, sometimes the activation code could be a little messy. So what you'll have to do is call IT help desk, and they can help you get activated. And then from there, if it's something in regards to incorrect data that's inputted, then they'd reach out to us, and then we can work through the back end things. But it's typically that's usually one troubleshooting thing. Another thing that could happen is the code. Sometimes if you maybe mistype your email or your phone number that's associated with your, the registration that you filled out, sometimes, it won't send a code. And so from there, you would need to call IT help desk to say, hey, I can't receive a code to activate my ID, and they'll walk you through that too as well. So that's just a couple things that could happen, but we'll work with you if, there's continued issues. But IT help desk is definitely one that I would reach out to with any questions regarding if you have issues getting the code to be able to activate your ID. All right, so once you've done that and it says, okay, you're activated, all that good stuff, then we can move on to the second part of step 2. So I'm going to go ahead and click out of this. And we're just going to we'll go back to the Program 60 PowerPoint just so you can kind of see what the next part of step 2 is. So we've completed activate your ID, check. So once you've done that, then you're going to go to the second part of step 2, which is setting up Buckeye Pass. So Buckeye Pass, for those that do not know, is a secondary security system that is required by the university. Basically, protects all data. So a lot of times, think of it as like a secondary passcode, to protect data. So a lot more platforms are utilizing it. This is something important. You won't be able to access any Ohio State platforms without setting this up. So this is why, again, like I stated earlier, you have to complete the first 3 things completely in order to move on to the next steps. So it builds up upon itself. But again, once you set it up, you will never have to do it again unless there's any weird updates, which we would help you navigate to as well. But Buckeye Pass, just a couple things before we go on that to set it up. Buckeye Pass can also be interchanged, named as Duo Mobile. They're the same thing. Ohio State likes to brand everything. So that's why, we have Buckeye Pass, but it's the same thing as Duo Mobile. But other than that, we're going to go ahead and we'll go back to the Program 60 website. Like I said, we're using this as a really great resource. We're going to go back to the Program 60 website, and then we're going to just go back to step 2 because this is a second part of step 2. So once you've activated your ID, you can go back to step 2. And this next section is how to set up Buckeye Pass. So you're actually just going to click Buckeye Pass right here. This link is a direct link. And we'll go here. And it's going to pop up with this screen right here. Again, Ohio State really likes red buttons. So we would go ahead and click Register Manage Devices. Before I do that, I did want to just indicate there are really great, helpful resources here, screenshot guides that pop up how to set up your account here too as well. I'll forward this to you all. I'll actually put it in the chat just so that way you have this on hand. But I can also send this in an email too as well, just to anyone that's participated in this webinar. But this is a really great resource, especially if you're more of like you need a tactile thing that you can print off. But this outlines how to set it up from a visual standpoint. But we're going to go ahead and we'll set it up from here. So we're going to go back to where we clicked. So you go to the Program 60 website, step 2, and you go to this buckeyepass.osu.edu link. So you go there and it'll pop up with this. You'll go to this big red button that says register and manage devices. From there, what's going to happen is this is, right now I'm actually going to have to pull up another link because I'm already set up with Duo Mobile. But what will happen is once you type in your last name number and password that you set up when you activated your ID, it'll then pop up with any Duo Mobile type scenarios. So for me, I've already set it up. This is what it looks like when you have it officially set up. So it will, if you have it set up with a smartphone device or a tablet, this is where it goes. It pops up. I have it downloaded as an app, but basically from there, you'll be able to accept the security and it clears you and allows you to pass through. This is going to process through. But for you all, since this would be your first time, setting up, when you click that big red button, what will happen is it'll pop up with this screen. It won't have like the secondary device. It'll just say add a device. So since I'm here, I'm just gonna go ahead and click add a device. It's going to select different options for Duo Mobile. For those of you that maybe don't have smart devices, so a tablet or a cell phone, there's a way that you can purchase a security key. It's basically it looks like one of those, not a floppy disk, but a USB drive where you can plug it in and then you could touch it and it processes through that kind of thing. But we don't cover that cost. You would have to purchase that. So you could click that. You can also set up just as a text. So like you could set up your phone number. So if you click that, you would type in your phone number. And then from there, once you set that up, here, I'm gonna actually do this real quick just so I can see how it looks. I haven't done this part for me. Let's see. Okay, that's a number that's already in. So I'm gonna type in, let's do another number. We'll do in this number. So 614. 773. All right, so I'm going to add this and I'll add a phone number and then I'll prompt you to say, is this number correct? So like if you accidentally typed in a wrong number or anything like that, you'd be able to change it. So you can click change it. But I'm going to go ahead and click yes, it's correct. From there, it's going to type in it'll say, okay, continue. And then once you continue, it'll actually send you, like each time you log into a Ohio State platform, it will actually, it'll prompt a text on your phone. So you always have to have that phone with you. If you don't have a cell phone or a tablet, and maybe you still just have a landline, you would need to reach out to me and I could get you hooked up with, if you don't want to go the route with the security key, to get a Duo token. And that's just, it's like a big chunky like device that has a code that changes every so often, and you have to purchase one every term. So that's, that's an item, but you would have to purchase that. We don't cover that cost. So just be mindful, but we do recommend you could do the cell phone text, or what I'll show you is I'm going to go ahead and delete this. So we have that is downloading the Duo Mobile app on your device, whatever you're going to use. And note, you're always going to want to have that with you. And the reason for that is it's definitely one of those things where if you're on campus and maybe you decide you need to go to campus computer, that's, you have to have that to log in. So it's always going to prompt you any Ohio State platform you log into. But the Duo Mobile app, you can, first what you would do is you can go to here, when you add a device, you can click Duo Mobile app. You'll type in that phone number that you want to have associated with it. So I'll type this one in. And you'll click add number, and then you'll click yes, that's correct. From there, it's going to prompt you to download the app on your phone. So you can either go to the App Store if you have Apple products, or you can go to Google Play if you have any Android or any other products. You're going to type into the App Store Duo Mobile. It's going to pop up with this green Duo app. You'll click that and download it. And then once you have it downloaded, what will happen is you'll click next on here. And then on your app, once you set it up, it's you'll then take you can take either on the app, there's like a little camera icon on it that you'll hold up, and you'll hover it over this QR code here and it'll automatically sync it. Or you can click get an activation link instead. And what will happen is it'll be sent to your email address. And then from there, you'll be able to sync it that way. So that's like the two different ways to do that. Any questions regarding this? And again, if there's any issues at all, like let's say I've had it where sometimes there's issues with in general, if there's a syncing issue, or maybe you have a older device that maybe isn't as up to date or supported, I recommend you calling IT help desk, as they would be able to give you a runaround type thing. And they can also provide you resources on different key codes if that's a better alternative. But hopefully this kind of gives you a little better idea of how to set up DuoPass. Well, Buckeye Pass, not DuoPass. But anyways, makes sense. But any questions regards to that, feel free to reach out. But we'll go ahead and move on just because I see no chats about this. So that's good news. So we'll go back to the Program 60 PowerPoint. So once you've activated your ID and you've set up your Duo Mobile Buckeye Pass, so once you've done that, you never have to set those up again, which is awesome. Unless you decide to get a new phone, things like that, then you would go back through Duo Mobile and set that up. But once we set that up, you're pretty much home free with the initial startup things. So we're going to go ahead and move on to step 3, which is setting up your Buckeye Mail. Now, no, all of y'all have access to this. This is honestly a little bit easier than the other 2 steps that happened. So that's really awesome. But each of you have a Ohio State Buckeye email account. So what that typically is it's your last name number that's assigned to you at buckeyeemail.osu.edu. From there, that's your email, what you access. I'm going to show you how to log into that. That email also will carry out the password that you use to set up your last name number. So you won't have to set up an additional password for this Buckeye email. You just use that password that you set up for the last name number. The one thing I do want to mention is Ohio State University, as well as our department and other departments around campus, will more than likely only communicate with you through this Buckeye email. Any specific things in regards to just in general, getting any updates and policies, they're not going to be sent to your personal email. I'm pretty good about sending some things initially, but a lot of the communication I send, like resources and things like that, will come through that Buckeye email. So it's important to get this set up and utilize it. Frequency wise, to check it, I would suggest if you're enrolled in classes, check it daily. If you're not, I would check it at least every couple of days or weekly at the minimum, just because there are sometimes updates or resources I send even after enrollment happens. So it's just important to stay on top of it. We're going to go ahead and we'll go to step 3 on the Program 60 website, and I'll show you how to set that up. So I'm actually, just so that way we can kind of get a pretty good, let me see if this will work. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this tab over so we can see the participate tab. And then we're going to go to set up Buckeye Mail. From there, it's going to pop up with a couple things. Like I indicated, the last name number at buckeyemail.osu.edu is going to be your email. So I'm going to go ahead and just to go set it up, you just click this link right here. And then it's going to pop up with this screen. So this is where you sign in. It's going to pop up. So you're going to type in your last name number, and then you're going to add at buckeyeemail.osu.edu. From there, you're going to click next. Then the password is the password you use to set up the ID. So you're going to type in your password, and then you'll click sign in. Now, when you first sign in, it's going to pop up like it's basically going to give you a tutorial on the email itself. And it is when you log into any Ohio State platform, which is why you have to set up the Duo Mobile Buckeye Pass before you move on. It's syncing up with my phone. So I already have to sign in using my phone because that's the route I went. From there, I'm going to click approve. And then I'll go ahead and click yes, trust browser, and it'll go through there. From there, it's going to log me in and it'll process up, and you'll see I have emails here galore. And then that you've set up your email. It's easy as that. For your accounts, since mine's not active, you're also going to have a bunch of other indicators right here. There's an easy, quick access to Word, Excel, PowerPoint. With any Buckeye, with any Program 60 participant that is in the program, you have access to any Ohio State Microsoft products from the cloud base. So that's basically the online version of Word and documents. So that's really nice, especially if you maybe don't have those products on your computer. It's not a requirement to utilize those, but it is nice. And I'll kind of show you why that can be nice to have this cloud-based version. But again, it's not a requirement to utilize. I'm not going to go into detail how to utilize the email, just because I do workshops and coaching sessions that do go over email and different questions like that. But this is just how you log into your Buckeye email. So once you set it up, you're good to go with that. Once we've completed step 3, and that was a great question. I appreciate that. We'll move on. So you've set up your Buckeye email. That's awesome. You've just completed the first 3 things. The second thing of step 3 is this Microsoft 365. I'll show you this really quick, as it's just a really nice, helpful guide, like I said, with the Microsoft products that I said that were on cloud. I'll go ahead and I'll pull that up here. So when you go on the Program 60 website, I'll just type it in. You go to step 3 on the Participate tab. It's also going to outline Microsoft 365. You can access email this way too, so that's why I'm going to show it. This is kind of nice. You just click this link right here, the go.osu. It's then going to prompt you to log in, and then it's going to pop up with this first screen. The reason I show this is it's really nice because all these different tiles are all the products you have access to. Each of these tiles is a help guide on how to engage with these platforms. So like if you have issues, navigating Outlook, like email, you can click that, and it actually provides a job aid on how to utilize Outlook email. So that's kind of nice to access to. We're going to go ahead and go back, but you can feel free to navigate that if you want, just to look and see what types of resources you have. But when you click that link on the Program 60 website to Microsoft 365, then what you're going to do is you're going to click this Microsoft 365.osu.edu link. I know it's a lot of clicking, but we just want to make sure you see that help guide before you get to the Microsoft thing. From there, it's going to pop up with this screen. Like I stated, Ohio State likes big red buttons. So you're actually going to click in the sign into Microsoft 365. And it's going to prompt you to type in your last name, number, your password, and then they'll say you're Duo Mobile, you'll process it, and then it'll pop up with, this is like the homepage for Microsoft 365. So the reason why I like to show this is for if you're on campus and let's say you don't have your computer, maybe you're using a library computer, maybe you're trying to complete a homework assignment or whatever that might be, and maybe you have it saved, like for instance, if you saved it on your on your computer, you wouldn't have access to it. Whereas if you saved it on this, you can access that document anywhere. So that's why, I'd like to show this just so that way you have access to it. But all your apps like Word and Excel and PowerPoint would be listed right here. And you can click that, and that's how you start creating those documents and things like that. This right here will usually just show your most recent documents that you've completed. So from there, this is kind of a great way. You don't have to use it. Like, let's say this is just a great resource, especially if you're, looking through and you want to be able to be as accessible as possible. This is a great way, but again, not a requirement, especially if you already have Microsoft products on your computer, your home computer. All right, so from there, once we've done that, you've completely set up your Buckeye mail, all that good stuff. We're going to go ahead And we'll move back to the PowerPoint slide. We'll move on to step 4, which is where we get into the really exciting stuff. So we done the initial setup stuff. You never have to set that up again. So this is like the initial, like when you first start. So step 4, searching for classes. So I know I've gotten some questions already from some of you before this orientation. I go pretty extensively in this just because it is important to be able to look and, understand what you're looking at and seeing if it's a good fit for you. And it's also a great way to check and see if a class has fees. So this is a section that I would suggest if if you have plans today, make sure you're on this part. Just because this does provide a lot of great information. So there's 2 different ways to search for classes. There's a really quick, easy way that I will use for brainstorming purposes only. And the reason I use that, it's the classes.osu.edu one for brainstorming. And the reason I do that is because sometimes it's not the most accurate information. It's a database, but it doesn't have the most up-to-date information. And that's just because it's uploaded once and then it's there. It's not something that's truly a live document. So it's just, I use it for brainstorming. So we're going to go through that. And then we'll also go through the Buckeye Link SIS class search engine. And that in particular is great because that's the most accurate. But when you're brainstorming, maybe you don't know what classes you're looking at. It's definitely something where the classes.osu.edu is really helpful, just kind of brainstorming. But then when you go to the Buckeye Link class search, that's when you get the more accurate results. Maybe you start understanding, okay, what classes you're looking for and things like that. So we'll go over both of those. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click out of this. And we're going to go back to the Program 60 website because, again, we utilize it as a resource. So program60.osu.edu, you go back to the Participate tab. And again, just a reminder, we completed step 1, step 2, step 3. Now we move to step 4, searching for classes. And I put a note here. And basically, from this point on, once you've done the initial setup, every term that you enroll in, from this point on, once you've signed up to be in the program, you start at step 4. So it cuts the whole process in half. So that's really nice and just helps you kind of not be as overwhelmed for future terms. So you'll click step 4. And again, I went over just a high level on both of these. This has a little bit more information, but I'm going to actually demo on how to utilize these. So we're first going to go to classes.osu.edu. This is the brainstorming class search engine. So I'm going to go ahead and click that link. And from there, it's going to pop up first with this screen. What I typically just make sure you do when you first come to the screen is make sure you go to this section right here, what's the term, and make sure it's the correct term you're trying to look for classes. Oftentimes, I hear people say, oh, I found this class, and when I look it up, it ends up being a different term, and it's usually because they didn't switch the term right here. So I'm going to make sure this says summer 2023. This tab right here is, if you're looking at specific classes at different campuses, you want to make sure you limit, you put that there. Otherwise, if you're free game to go to any campus, you can click all campuses. For Program 60, you as a participant, you can actually take any classes at any regional campuses. You can take online and in-person courses. So that's really a great opportunity to engage in different courses. But again, if it's an in-person course, and let's say it's only offered at one campus, you would have to drive there. So take that with a grain of salt, whatever that makes sense to you. For the sake, since I'm in Columbus, I'm going to go ahead and click this Columbus tab. And I'm going to, let's say I'm super interested in art. Maybe I don't know the actual subject name I'm looking for. I'm actually going to type in the chat first, just, art, just to see. And this search engine is super intuitive, which is why I say use it for brainstorming. So you can click art, and it's going to pop up with any classes that have any sort of relation to art. So that's kind of cool because if you're just looking through and you're like, I want to see anything that has these specific keywords, you can go through and just look through here. And it lists any art class relation that's being offered during the summertime. But again, you can also type in other specific. Let's say you're trying to look for a drawing class. I'm going to put in drawing. it's then going to pull up that, and it's actually going to pull up any class that has any sort of drawing or any keywords that say drawing. So that's kind of a really cool way to really specifically look at, what you're looking for. Maybe you're not unsure, and you might be able to pull out several classes and look a little bit further into those. Before I do really more extensive searching, I am going to focus on these filters on the right-hand side. Once you do that initial key search, it's going to pop up with this very long list of filters. Couple key things. I highly recommend not using so many filters because it limits, especially if you don't know what you're looking for, it truly limits like the searching. So I recommend don't doing a whole lot of filters, but the ones I do recommend doing is obviously the term and the campus. And then I recommend if you scroll probably majority all the way down, I would also recommend doing like instruction mode. So that's like what it identifies if it's an online course, if it's in person. There's classes that are hybrid, so it's online and in person. So this is really, I would recommend putting that. So let's say I'm looking for a online course that's under distance learning. It's going to filter any class that's online up here. It'll pop up. You can, if you're looking for very, very specific times, so like time of day, you can put evening or daytime, but just note that if it doesn't pop up, it means they're not offering it during that time period. So that's just something to be mindful of when you do over, if you filter a lot. So from there, that's what I kind of let people, you can look at that and kind of just see, you can play around with it. But again, I highly recommend not using so many filters because it limits it, especially for this brainstorming part. So a couple things before we move on to the other class search engine. I have a specific class I want to pull up just so you can see it. Or type in Art 2100. All right, so I have this up. So Art 2100 is beginning drawing, and there's a couple things I'm going to pinpoint. And again, we're going to see the differences between this classes.osu.edu class search engine, and we're going to see the Buckeye Link SIS class search engine. So there's differences between the two. So looking at this right through here, the key things that I always tell participants to look at first is the first thing I want you to look at is the course description. So there's this section right here. So this just outlines like what specific things are in the class. It also will sometimes outline prerequisites in this section. So that's very important because what that means is it's going to show you like, hey, you have to, it's definitely one of those things where you need to make sure if there's prerequisites, you're not able to self-enroll. And we go over that during step 6, which is the enrollment participate tab. And from there, that's when you submit instructor permissions and things like that, because you won't be able to self-enroll. Our office has to enroll you, and that's when you have to submit instructor permissions. So that's a section to be mindful of. You're also going to want to look at this class attribute section. So it's going to show, in this section, it's going to show any class fees that are associated with the class. It's also going to show like any prerequisites again. So it could be listed up here in this description, or it could be listed under this class attribute section. So prerequisites are, if you see the keywords prerequisites, like any classes you have to take beforehand, regardless if you've taken them in the past, you have to submit instructor permission for those. So another thing that I want you to pay attention to every time you're searching for classes and making sure it's online, you want to make sure, you will look right through here. So this kind of lists the times, like when you have to meet in class. So this is an online class. So when there's actually specific times of days, you have to log in during those times. When there's a TBA to be announced under instructors, that typically means it's either a TA or GA that's teaching the class, and they won't have that information until closer to the date. We'll talk about that when we do instructor permissions, but just note that's something to just be mindful of and take note of that. But if there is an instructor name listed there, make sure you take note of that instructor's name right there. The other information I recommend you writing down is the subject name. So this, I would type down art, and then the class number is 2100. You would then also need to type down this typically 4 to 5 digit number. This is the section number. And this is important in regards to when you submit instructor permission forms as this allows us to make sure we put you in the right section. So you want to make sure you input this information up here, as well as this, and the instructor name. That's really the only information you really need to nail down for us. The other information is good for yourself and just making sure you're aware of if there's fees and different things like that. So that's kind of one search. I'll do another one just so you can see it on here. We'll go through here. So we'll type in, I have a human nutrition class. I really want to learn about human nutrition. I feel like that's a great thing for me to look into. So I'm going to type in this information just because I know the specific class. So the reason I have this class up is it's a really easy way regarding, just in general, looking at specifics. So like I indicated, make sure you look in the description and the attributes. So looking at this in the description, you can see there's a prerequisite. So prerequisite not open to students with credit for 2210. Now, no, even though we as Program 60, we don't get transcript. They never take account for any class previously. As a Program 60 participant, you still have to submit instructor permission regardless. So that's important to be mindful of. The second thing is looking at the course attributes for this. You can see like straight up that there's a $60 book fee that you would have to pay. So that's where you're never going to get a surprise fee with a class. It's always going to be listed in the description or the class attributes. For this class in particular, I wanted to show this because it shows, like we walked through, if there's a class, you want to make sure you see the days and times that you log in. This one says to be announced. What this means is this is a self-guided class and you don't actually have to log in on specific times of days. You actually just you can log in. They'll have due dates for assignments, but there's not a particular time of day you have to log in to listen to a lecture. So that's something to be mindful of too as well. So maybe sometimes you're not, maybe that's something you're not a big fan of. Maybe you want that lecture experience. Maybe that means this class isn't the best fit for you. And to answer your question, looking some courses with decimals, the decimals, you have to make sure you have that included. That's just how they have it in the system. Sometimes I've seen it where if they have the decimals, it means it's typically like it really depends. If it's an online class, usually it's like a asynchronous class, but sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's just because however they registered the class in the system, that's how the registrar decided that's how that class is going to pop up. And then in regards to, completed steps 1 through 3, and you're starting to look for classes, that stuff you can follow up with me via email. I can check, just to see if your account's good. But if you're able to log in, you can start searching for classes. So that's kind of a great thing is you can start looking now, regardless if you haven't completed steps 1 through 3, but just note it is important to have that stuff set up. So that's definitely something where you can email me at program60@osu.edu and we can go from there. So once I've kind of go through a couple of these on this classes.osu.edu search engine, I kind of want to now go to the Buckeye Link SIS system just because there are several other classes I want to show you like types of things you can see. You can kind of start seeing the differences between the two. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go back to the step 4, and I just saw a thing that come through. What does R mean? That means Thursdays. That's just how they do it. I'm not sure why they don't list it as TH, but they just put R in. So that's kind of, I don't really have the best reason why they use R, but that's just for Thursday. So we're going to go ahead and go back to step 4 on the Program 60 website under Participate tab. And we just looked at classes.osu.edu. So once you've included that information, the subject name, the class name, the section number, the instructor name, you're then going to want to go to the Buckeye Link SIS class search engine. So this one in particular, if you haven't done steps 1 through 3 and you're not in the system, you wouldn't be able to access. So it's important to be able to do that. You can use the classes.osu.edu, but this one in particular, you would have to make sure you have everything set up. All right. So, and yes, it's just makes it just one letter. Yeah. So that's definitely a great, that's a great answer. Yeah. Just makes it one letter, makes it more clean on the schedule. So we'll go ahead and click this buckeyelink.osu.edu. From there, it's going to pop up with this. For those that don't have experience with Buckeye Link, I do want to mention we do have workshops over this and different webinars, things like that. So be mindful if you feel a little overwhelmed, it's okay. I try to go as much as I can, but also it's sometimes better just to continue to work with it. But I'll try to make this as, simple as possible. So when you're looking for the class search engine type thing, what I normally tell people is go directly to the search bar right here. From there, I'm going to have you type in class SIS. Once you click class SIS, you click enter, you're going to go down this tile section and you're just going to click this first tile that pops up, which is class search SIS. So you're just going to click that. From there, it's going to pop up with this. And this is the class search engine that you have to use for the accuracy. The classes.osu.edu just for brainstorming. This is the accuracy. So from there, you'll see it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more regimented. You're going to make sure, obviously this is Ohio State University. You're going to make sure you click the correct term. So for me, I'm looking at summer 2023 classes. And note, if you're looking for future terms, let's say you're looking for spring 2024, it's not going to pop up until autumn term. So you won't be able to even search for classes until then. So just heads up. Summer 2023. And then for campus, you're going to put whatever campus you're looking at. So for me, I'm looking at Columbus. Because I've already previously searched for classes, I'm going to go ahead and type in some of the information here. So you're going to want to go to the subject. So remember when we went to class.osu.edu, I told y'all to collect the subject name, type that in here. The nice thing about this search thing is it's case sensitive, so you can actually start typing and it'll start rolling down, so you don't have to go all the way down the thing. So I'm going to go ahead and go to this art because that's exactly where I went. I'm really interested in that drawing class I first pulled up. So I'm going to do art 2100. So that's the number associated with art. And lo and behold, it pops up with these two classes. And again, the important thing that I mentioned is you need to make sure you write down that section number, that class number right here, which is exactly what I wrote down, because I was really interested in the online course. I didn't want the in-person course, which is this other one. So that's just important because there are some times where there's in-person or online sections. So that is something important to write down. I then, once I have this, I say, okay, I wanted this number, the 19818. I'm going to click this for further information. So you just click the link. It's going to pop up with a more extensive description. So obviously it looks a little bit different than the classes.osu.edu. This section in particular, you'll note that, again, class attributes shows any of the specifics. Description will show any other, things that are associated with the class. And there is a class note here. So that's why I always say use this for the most accurate information. So when you looked at the classes.osu.edu for this class, there was no fees on it. Absolutely none. This in particular in the class notes, it's not a fee that will pop up on your account right away, but it says students in art 2100 can expect to spend approximately $100 on materials and supplies. That's why it's very important to read these descriptions on the Buckeye SIS class search engine, because then you're not surprised when you say, oh, I don't want to spend that money, then you're not able to. Yeah. And so we're going to go more into this class searching. So I'll get to that question that, someone posted. So from there, a couple other things. So we know that that's a big thing. And then we also know distance learning, which is 100% online class. And in this class in particular, it's 100% online and it meets Tuesday, Thursday. So that's what it showed. And it still shows to be announced no instructor, but that will change. And again, I'll show you how to do instructor permissions with those that don't have an instructor listed. But that's just something mindful of. And then one last thing on this in particular, that's why I always say go to class SIS search engine. This is where it gets a little, you can see how likely you'll get in a class. So as program 60 is, it's seat availability instructor permission basis. If you're looking in the section, it shows how many available seats are open and how many, how big's the wait list. So because this is an online class, it has a very large capacity for a wait list. Right now, there's currently 25 people enrolled in the class, so there's one available seat. So if you submit instructor permission for this, you're more than likely potentially in the class. But it's sometimes not true. Sometimes they're reserving that seat for a credit earner, things like that. So it's always important to submit instructor permissions, especially for a class with prerequisites. Other than that, let's say, and I have a couple other examples to go through. Let's say that maybe there is a wait list, it'll pop up here. So you'll kind of see, okay, if I submit instructor permission, how likely will I get in this class? I usually say if there's a wait list of 5 or more, it's, sometimes it happens, but if you're higher on the wait list, you might want to look for a secondary class. So that's just one example for this. All right, from there, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go back to I have a couple examples for this class search. And there's a question in there in regards to different course modes. And I'm going to go through specifically how to search utilizing that as well. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up another class. So I've decided I want to take a biology class. I'm going to type in biology. And I scroll down here and type in biology, and using that class's brainstorming thing, I found this information. Type in 1102. But there's also another way to search for that information. So I have this, but you can also search with that section number, that class number, the 5-digit number that's usually associated with the class. The way to do that, so let's say you don't have that information, you can actually go to this additional search criteria, and you click this green arrow. It's going to pop down with a lot more information. And so you can filter, like if you specifically are looking for a class that for a fact meets on certain days, you can enter that here. But if you don't know, I would recommend staying away from that, just so that way, everything's fine. You don't have to worry about that. But for this in particular, I'm going to go ahead and just type in the class number here. So this one in particular is 14881. I'm going to go ahead and just enter it so you can see it, and it pops up. So that's kind of really nice. So that way I can, see that class. Before I click further in that link, a couple other things I want to mention too is, let's say, maybe you aren't able to, maybe you know a professor, instructor, and you really want to find a class they're teaching. Let's say you don't have any of this information. Let's say you don't have any of this information, and maybe you really want to take, instructor that, you just want to see what classes are available for the summer. You could actually start typing their last name here where it says instructor last name, and you would be able to find, potentially find a class that they're taking. Now, no, this particular search, I was unable to find any. However, the nice thing about this, like one troubleshooting thing, is maybe for a fact this person's teaching in class. 9 times out of 10, the reason is there's this blue check mark here, and this only shows any open class. So that's any class that has available seats. So maybe a class is waitlisted. Maybe it's a closed class. I'm going to go ahead and just uncheck that, and this will pop up with any class regardless if it's closed or not. I'm going to go ahead and click search. And as you can see, I try to search it. There's no classes that pop up for this instructor, so therefore they're not teaching a class for the summer. So unfortunately, we can't create a class just for the sake of it. It just means they're not, teaching a class. I've seen it where if someone searches it on classes.oc.edu and they try to search it on here and it doesn't pop up, it means that class they end up disbanding. So that's why I always say the classes.oc.edu is the one for brainstorming. All right, a couple other things I want to mention too, and then we'll do a couple other examples so you can kind of see what types of classes are out there. One thing I want to mention is for summer terms specifically, summer is kind of a wild beast in regards to the frequency of classes. So for the frequency of classes, there's 6-week classes, there's 8-week classes, there's 4-week classes, and then there's session 1, session 2, and full summer term classes. So there's a lot of different classes. And so what that means is it's shortened. Some of them are very short. So it's very important to look at that in regards to the classes section, which I'll show you a couple that have different ones like that. And what that usually means is they cram so much information in 4 weeks. So like if you're a type of person that needs a little bit more you don't want to have that much information all at once. Maybe that's not the right class for you. Or maybe, maybe you want that and maybe you're trying to take several classes. Maybe that's just something you want on that experience. That it just depends. Some of those classes can be very high paced. So if you're wanting to just sit in on the lectures, it might not be the best one for you. From there, if you don't care, it doesn't matter. But if you're looking at specifics, that's a section I always recommend. And then the last section is this mode of instruction. So mode of instruction. So I'm answering the question that was in the chat. So there's, in this section, it lists 4 different ways. So the first 2 that more people are more familiar with is in person, is obviously it's a class that's being offered in person. Distance learning, which is 100% online. So that's that traditional 100% online. Distance enhanced means there's different technologies that are utilized within that class, but there also could be a in-person component not on campus. And then hybrid is one where it's online and in person. So that's just something to be mindful of too. Is if you maybe don't have transportation and you're trying, or maybe you're scheduling, you want to take 100% online, I'd recommend you just looking at 100% distance learning. Distance enhanced, maybe you're looking at maybe your higher level of tech and maybe you want to have a more enhanced experience. That might be a great experience. I don't know right now currently how many classes are like that, but again, you can look and see. But the hybrid one is definitely one for those that want that in-person and online experience. So it really just depends on what you're interested in. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and we'll go back to this biology class just so we have that. I like to have different information that pops up just because this has very specific things I want you to look at. So for this, you can see this class in particular, if you look at the session, it says summer term. So it's 100% like full term class. It's 100% online. But when you look in the days and times, you notice, oh, it's to be announced. What does that mean? Well, what that means is anytime there's a class that has TBA in it, and it's 100% online, it means it's an asynchronous course. So what that means is you don't log in at a specific time. You just go, you complete assignments based off of due dates, things like that, but you don't have to log into a lecture or anything like that. So that's just something to be mindful of too as well. Again, looking at the section information, it says there's prerequisites, so you have to submit instructor permission. And then this class attributes, it clearly lists a digital textbook fee of $71.99. And that's something that we'll talk a little bit more and I'll send information about. That's typically a Carmen Books fee, so it's embedded in the class. So usually instructors want you to purchase this, so it's something to be mindful of. But there is a way, if the class maybe doesn't heavily revolve around the book, to opt out of that digital book. And I'll show you how to do that. But that, again, I recommend having a discussion with that instructor to make sure that it's okay to opt out to have that digital book. But 9 times out of 10, they do want you to have that just because a lot of these courses, even if they're in person, they have that online capacity for submitting assignments and things like that. Sometimes classes are revolving around that book. So that's just something to be mindful of. And then, yeah, the wait list on there, there's no wait list. There's 38 seats available, 112 seats actually available. So more than likely you get this class. It would just be based off of, instructor permission. So that's just something to be mindful of. And I wanted to show you that. I have a couple other classes I want to show just so you can see differences. And while I'm searching this, I do see a question in the chat in regards to if you're taking an online class, if you receive a link. I'll show you how to log in the class. You won't necessarily receive a link, but you'll receive an email typically from the instructor through your Buckeye email, just welcoming you to the class once the class starts. But again, it's through a platform called Carmen Canvas, and that's where you access the class. But I'll kind of do a high-level overview of it, but also we'll send links, and I also do workshops over it too as well. So yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll type in, I have another art class I'm going to show. So this is just going to show you just different things you can see. So 2, 5, 5. All right. So you can see this is online class. You can see right up here in the session, it's an 8-week session 2. So that's important because it doesn't start directly on the first day of classes, like for the term. It actually starts on June 5th. So that's something to be mindful of is when you're looking at these different classes, if the session is like a session 2 or whatever, you always want to make sure you look at the meeting dates because that's when the classes start. This one in particular, you log in 3 times a week, 8:45 a.m. to 11:45. Instructor, it's going to be a GA, probably a TA. And then, yeah, on this one, there is a wait list. So that is something to be mindful of too. I can tell you right now, for a lot of art classes, sometimes they like to keep classes small, but it is in your favor. This is an online class. It's distance learning if you look at the instruction mode. So you'd be able to submit instructor permission, and sometimes they'll say enroll over wait list, and that's a really great way. And we'll go a little bit more in detail. And then lastly, if you look in the description, it says prerequisites not open to students with credit for 3555. So again, instructor permission is required for this. And then we'll do, I have one more class I want to pop up on here just so you can see it. And yes, I'll be going over instructor permission later in this webinar. That's just something I like to mention so that way you're prepared. Okay, we're looking at these classes. This is the information I need, but we will go over the instructor permission process. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and type in one more class, and then we'll move on. So we're going to type in English class 2. All right. What is this? Is this not offered? Okay. Yeah, troubleshooting is really good. So let me make sure I have everything correct. Let's see if this is actually coming through. I'm going to type in the section number. So sometimes when stuff doesn't pop up, it might mean it's not a class that's being offered right now. But luckily I had that section number, so I was able to search it that way. So from here, this is that's not the class. So meaning what I found was it's a class that's closed. So they're no longer offering it. So I'm not able to search it. So maybe if you look on the classes.oc.edu website, you find a class, try searching in here, it means it might not be offered anymore. So that's something I should have checked that sooner. But we'll go ahead and we'll move on. But hopefully that makes sense looking at it. So just making sure you look at the course descriptions to make sure if there's any fees associated with the class, those will pop up on your account, which will show you how to do that in a bit. But that kind of gives you a little bit more information on what to look for when you're looking at classes, what notes to take. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to go to, I'm going to go ahead and click this, and hopefully this loads. Perfect. We're going to then go to this next part, which is syllabus check. So those of you that are planning for like taking classes, things like that, sometimes you're like, man, I really want to know what's covered in these classes. And unfortunately for me, I don't have all the information about classes. I only know like the specifics, like how to enroll, things like that, and how to navigate. But if you're looking at very specific, it's usually the instructor will know. But a really great way I like to show people how to look at that information is if you go to the syllabus check. So if you click this link right here, and I'll send this in an email with all the information, you can actually find this on the Buckeye Link account, so you can actually type it in. But basically, if you click start, it'll pop up with this database. It's going to ask me to pop in, do a mobile, and then from there, it's going to log me in, and then it's going to pop up with this. And what I typically do is, if it's a class that was offered, let's say there's a class that's maybe offering, I'm going to just search a art class that I'm looking at. You can type that in. It's going to pop up with every single class that's offered art. And you'll kind of go from there and you can click search for syllabuses. From there, it'll pop up here, any links of syllabuses that are offered. For this, unfortunately, this class, the instructors for this class in particular didn't upload the syllabuses here. So you don't have that information. So what I normally do is if you're looking for more information, reach out to that instructor. However, for, let's say a class does have a syllabus, it'll have a link right here and you can click it and upload the syllabus there. So that's kind of a really great way to just know. But again, I always recommend also reach out to the instructor. All right, we'll go ahead. We'll go back. This next section, so this is going to go over the question that is in the chat right now. So reviewing your to-do list. This is very important. So once you've gone through, you search for classes, you identified, collected that information, if a class has fees, things like that, you want to make sure your student account is, complete, like all the requirements the university has is completed. So this is really important. So we're going to go to the Program 60 website just so you can see, like I have all the requirements listed. So this is important. So we'll go to the Program 60 website, participate tab, and we're going to go to step 5, which is review your to-do list. The thing I want to mention is this website, our Program 60 website, lists anything that is required of you to complete as a participant, as well as the cadence of how often you have to complete it. Some things you only have to complete once, some things annually, and sometimes every term. Now, if something pops up on your account, and I'll show it, if it pops up and it's not on this list on the website, you do not have to complete it. The only things you're required are the ones that are on this list that pop up. So I'm going to show you how to do that. The to-do list items that you have to complete, and I'll demo how to do this, is first the COVID-19 vaccination requirement. If you're planning on taking in-person classes currently, you have to complete this step. You have to complete both the consent release form as well as uploading a valid COVID-19 card or exemption. So right now it's medical and religious exemptions. So that I'll show you how to upload that information. Another item, and this is only has to be completed once. The other item we have to complete is the financial responsibility statement. This you have to complete every term. Even though we as participants, we're not paying for tuition, we are paying for any fees that are accumulated with the course. So therefore, you have to sign this thing that's on your account, and I'll show you it's really super easy. Every single term you have to complete this. If you don't complete it, it puts a hold on your account and you're 100% are unable to enroll in classes. So that's important, regardless if it's online or not. I forgot to mention for the COVID-19, if you don't complete that, you can only participate in online courses only. There can't be an in-person component to it, and you won't be able to self-enroll in any classes that don't have prerequisites. So it is important to make sure, if you don't want to do that, you have to make sure you upload those requirements. And luckily, we help you with that too as well. And lastly, there's sometimes different trainings that pop up on your account. They could be listed as you got this too, safety training. There's different types of trainings they upload frequently. In your account, you have to make sure you complete those. They don't put hold on your account right away, but they will eventually, and they take a lot longer to come off your account if you don't complete it. Usually if it hits your account as a hold, it takes about 15 days for it to process. But regardless, that's kind of a nice thing to be mindful of. And I put this here as a reference. So that way, if you forget how often you have to do it, we'll kind of go from there. I'll go to the syllabus page at the very end because we do have a lot of information to go through, but I will do that. So from there, there's also one other section, which is other vaccinations. This you do not have to complete unless you plan on taking more than 6 credit hours a term. That's usually equivalent to 2 classes. I've noticed sometimes that doesn't really hit, but again, it depends, and you need to reach out to the Student Health Services, which we have their contact information right here. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to go back here. We're going to review our to-do list items, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to log into our Buckeye Link account. So that Buckeye Link thing. So we're going to go back to Buckeye Link, and actually, I think you can click it from here. So we'll go to the step 5. You'll click this Buckeye Link tab right here. Go back to the site. And I'm going to show you a couple ways to complete your to-do list items. So the first way is you can type in the chat up here, to-do list, and click enter. And it's going to pop up with all these tiles again. And you're actually just going to go to this My To-Do list right here. So this is going to list any to-do list items you have to take. For me, since I am not an active student, it's not going to pop up with every single one. But this is where it's going to list every single thing you have to complete. If you click the link of an item, it's going to usually pop up similar to this. It's always going to have a link that directs you directly to what you have to complete. So for this, if I click this link, it takes me to where the safety training is at. So this is one of those trainings you have to complete. You'll have to scroll through, complete the online training, and it's not an automatic taken off your account. So if you complete it and you don't see it pop off your account right away, it takes several days for it to process. So don't worry. It's not going to put a hold on your account right away. But the second thing to be mindful of is there's also any a way to contact the department that puts those trainings on your account. So any questions, you can always reach out to those contacts. For the financial responsibility statement, and I'll show you another way to access it because I can show you from a different way. But it'll pop up like this on your to-do list items, and I'll say financial responsibility statement here. You click that link, and it'll prompt you to complete the the three different yeses you have to complete, submit, and that hold actually automatically gets taken off your account. So that's a really nice one because you automatically know if you've done it. For the COVID-19 one, it'll list it here, and then it'll show you just written out steps. And you can follow those, but I'll also show you some back-end ways that make it a little bit easier to complete that. But any trainings, financial responsibility, things like that will list under this to-do list. I'm going to go back to the Buckeye link just so that way I can show you the other way. Another way to complete this is if you want to, let's say you're trying to specifically find the financial responsibility statement. You actually type in financial responsibility statement here, and you search that. And when it pops up, it's going to actually pop up right here. And it has a reminder, you have to complete this every term. So lots of reminders. So we're going to click that. It's actually then going to pop up with the financial responsibility statement. So that's really nice. You can actually see what it looks like. So when you're on your to-do list items, you can actually click it directly, that link. And then from there, you're just going to click, I agree, I agree, I agree. And then you're going to click submit. And then once you click submit, you're going to click OK. And then it automatically takes you to your account, and you can see there's no more holds on the account. So that's kind of cool. Safety training specifically, I'm going to type in safety training. I haven't actually checked specifically. You can see that from here. And yeah, so it actually pop up. You can go under your Buckeye Learner account. It should pop up underneath there. But I always recommend going through the to-do list items and going through that link because it's a little bit more direct that way. The last way that you can complete these items is you're going to type in your student account, My Buckeye link. So you're going to type in student. It's going to pop up with this tab right here where it says My Buckeye link. And I recommend this because it's a one-stop shop for everything. It helps me kind of be a little more focused, but it really just depends on it. So yeah. So, and we will be covering the instructor permission later in this webinar. So have no worries. We are going to cover that. So it's all good. So we're going to go ahead and go to My Buckeye link. And you're going to log in. It's going to pop up at the screen. This is your student account. So this is what will show anything that, if there's fees that are due, things like that. And I'm going to show you how to check that once we get to that. But specifically for to-do list items, you're going to look on the right-hand side, and this is where that list is here. So you'll actually click more, and it'll go back to that to-do list that we found when we typed in on Buckeye link through that search engine. But we're going to go back just so you can see. But any holds that are acquired from these to-do list items will pop up here. You will click that, and it'll say what the hold is. So like for financial responsibility statement, usually there'll be a hold on there if you haven't completed it. That one's the one where you just click 3 times the yes and then click submit and okay, and it automatically takes that hold. The COVID-19 hold will pop up after 28 days after you've been registered in the program. So it's not one that's going to pop up right away. But that is something that will pop up if you don't complete, then that deters you from enrolling in classes. So that's just how you complete some of those items. I'm going to go ahead, and since we've gone through that, we're going to go to complete the COVID-19 requirement. So I know this is, so this is something that is in the chat, and I'm going to go through this extensively. So the thing with the COVID-19 vaccination requirement is it's a two-part requirement. You have to first make sure you upload your COVID-19 card or your exemption, and you also have to make sure you sign the consent release form. So what that often means is if you get emails from them, continuously, things like that, it means you might have not completed both parts. So we're going to go through both parts today, so that way you can see that. So we're going to go back to the Program 60 website. We're going to go to the step 5, and I have direct links here. So I'm just going to go to here just so you utilize it as a resource. And you're going to go to this link right here. So no, not that one, the shs.osu.edu/my-buckmd. So we're going to go to this link right here. This link here is just for more information about the latest policies. We're going to go to this link here. From there, it's going to pop up with this. So you'll see a Dr. Brutus here. This is more so students' health services. Like if you have any other questions, you can reach out to them through this. But specifically for the COVID-19 requirements, if you have a exemption, so if you don't have a COVID-19 card, but you have a valid exemption, medical or religious, you'd have to download this app right here, and you'd actually have to get it notarized. You have to fill it out and get it notarized, and then you submit it. So that's just something to be mindful of. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go through the MyBuckMD, which is how you complete both parts. And I'll also show you the back end things if you're unable to complete the COVID-19 card upload. So you're going to click this first link right here. So MyBuckMD. And it's going to take you to this platform. It'll ask you to log in, things like that. And it's going to pop up with this. The first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to try to go to the document upload section right here. And this is where you upload a valid picture on both sides of your COVID-19 card or scanned documents of your medical or religious exemption. You'll click the document type here. You'll make sure you identify what document it is. So like if it's an exemption, you put the vaccine exemption. If you put the COVID-19, you put the COVID-19 vaccination records, that's what you would click. And then from there, you click browse and you upload the card and you click save. Now, sometimes depending on how you save it or the quality of it, this database might not take it. It might not take the form or whatever that might be. What you'll need to do then is you'll need to send it as an attachment via email. This is the backend way. Is vaccination@osu.edu. You'll save it as attachment and type in your last name, number, and your name and say this is your COVID-19 card or exemption to be processed for the requirement. So that's the backend. So, but let's say you've completed it, uploaded this, all that good stuff. You then need to complete the consent form. This is what sometimes trips people up is they think, oh, I completed the COVID-19 card or the exemption upload. They forget about they have to sign the consent release form, which is basically just saying Ohio State has my permission to use my records for, just saying that they know that I am vaccinated and I can be on campus. So to get to that, you're going to go to the section where it says My Forms. For me, since I've already completed it, it's not going to pop up, but there's going to be a link here and it's going to say COVID-19 consent release form. You're going to click that. Then it's going to prompt you all the information needed. It's going to say when you got your COVID-19 shots or whatever, or the exemption. It's then also going to say like, yes, I agree to have my information shared. And then you click submit and it's going to pop up with a screen to sign. You're going to click and drag and sign like your signature and you click save and submit. And then from there, when you know you've completed it, it will take the link off your account. So if it still pops up afterwards, it means you didn't submit it correctly. Any other issues that arise from this COVID-19 requirement, reach out to vaccination@osu.edu, as they are the ones that handle this website and are the ones that have to help you engage with that. So that's just something to be mindful of. I do check, especially once we get to the section of submitting instructor permissions, I do check your accounts. So if I see there's an issue, sometimes I'll CC you an email if you think you've completed something, and we get clarification from them to make sure you complete that requirement. So that's how to complete the COVID-19 requirement. It's not an automatic process. It usually takes about 3 days. If you completed both parts, 3 days for the process, and it takes off your account. But unfortunately, if it's not completed, and if you're trying to take an in-person class, you won't be able to. All right. Any questions regarding the COVID-19 requirements? All right. I think we'll go ahead and continue. I know there's still a good amount of information. So once we've completed the to-do list items and you no longer have those holds on your account, you're good. Now let's say, we're ready to sign up for classes. Right now, you can't enroll in classes until our enrollment window opens up. So we can start enrolling classes April 18th. So that's kind of a great thing is, you're able to start enrolling classes then. So if you want, after this, you can start submitting instructor permissions once we go over that, things like that, and we can enroll you right on that day. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how to enroll in classes once that window opens up. So we're going to go back to this Program 60 website, and we're going to go to the Participate tab. We're going to go to Step 6, which is Enroll in Classes. So we've completed Steps 1 through 5. If you successfully completed Step 5, we won't have any issues. But I'll talk about some errors that come up in enrollment if you didn't complete the to-do list items correctly. So you'll go to this page, Step 6, Enroll in Classes. It'll show you how to start enrolling classes maybe that don't have prerequisites. So when we search for classes, we looked at the descriptions, attributes, see if there's any prerequisites. If there is prerequisites, you're unable to self-enroll. But if there's a class that doesn't have prerequisites, in theory, you can go in and self-enroll. But we still do recommend you getting permissions, which we'll talk about soon because we're on that page. But what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and we're going to go to the Buckeye Link account. So we're going to go to Buckeye Link. And then I'm going to go ahead. There's different ways to enroll in classes. We're going to go ahead and say add class in the search engine. And it's going to pop up with add a class. So you can actually go here and click that. And since I'm not an active student, I'm unable to show you the full process of enrolling in classes, but it will prompt you on, information to go through. So for instance, I'm going to type in one of the classes I'm interested in. So the biology class. Okay, so that was not a valid. Why is that not valid? All right, good old technology. It might be because I'm not active, so I'm unable to do that. But you'll go ahead, you'll type in like whatever subject, the class section number there. You'll need to make sure you click whatever term you're trying to get into. And then from there, you'll click the enter, it'll pop up, and you'll click proceed to step 2 of 3, and keep on prompting through. And then from there, what will happen is it'll pop up with the screen saying, okay, you're ready to enroll in class. You'll click submit. And then it should, if you've successfully enrolled, it'll come up with a green check mark. And it says you're enrolled. Now, note, if you get to that point and it's like in red X and it says errors, it means a variety of different things. One thing that could happen is it could be, well, you're trying to enroll outside your enrollment window. So if you try to do it today, it's going to say not a valid enrollment window, therefore you're unable to enroll in class. Another thing it could say is you have holds on your account. So that typically means that you haven't completed your to-do list items and you need to go back to your to-do list items to see what hasn't been completed. You can also go into your student Buckeye Link account, and I'll go back to that to show you under that to-do list items to see, what holds are being, put on my account, because that typically will deter you from enrolling classes. And lastly, if it's a class, let's say you forgot to check the description of the class and it maybe has a prerequisite and you forgot, it'll pop up as an error saying prerequisites aren't made. And that should prompt you to say, oh, you can't self-enroll. You would have to submit instructor permission and we would process the enrollment. We'll go over that. But yeah, so that's one way to go through the enrolling class. But let's say it's a green check mark and you've enrolled in the class. From there, we'll go back to the student account just to show you. From there, the way to get to that point to just check if you're successfully enrolled in the class, if you type in student in the search engine, you go to My Buckeye link, you click that. And if you successfully enroll in classes, it will pop up right here. It'll list here the classes that you're enrolled in. If it does not pop up here, it means you're not successfully enrolled and there's an error. And you can always reach out to our office just to check and see like the error, like email us preferably, just because a lot of this is a lot of documentation. But it could also be if it's not listed here, let's say you're currently enrolled in a class like for spring term and you just enrolled in a class for summer term, but you don't see it here. It's because we're currently not in summer term yet. So if you're currently enrolled in a class for spring term, you're going to see your spring term class here. But to look at your summer term class, all you would need to do is you would go to this My Class Schedule link over here on the left-hand side. And then it will pop up with spring or summer terms here. You'll click whatever term you're looking at. And then once you click that and click submit, it will list the classes there. But if you don't see it there, that means you're not enrolled. And note, this is not where you access the actual class. This is just the back end admin side of things stating this is where you're officially enrolled in the classes. So hopefully that makes sense. The enrollment stuff from that standpoint, if it has a prerequisite, you're unable to self-enroll, our office has to enroll you in the class. But that's a really quick, easy way to understand, okay, you can add classes. You can also go in your student account and actually go under here and go through that same process of adding classes from here too as well. So there's multiple different ways to add classes. And that's if you're self-enrolling. Now, I'm going to go back to the Program 60 website just to show you where the instructor permission form. So to enroll in classes that have prerequisites, you're unable to self-enroll. So what that means is you have to submit instructor permission form and our office has to process it. So to do that, you'll go to instructor permission form right here. And so instructor permission, we have a link right here. And I did see in the chat, someone said, I emailed the instructors directly. Is that okay? That's okay. We just need to make sure you have all the information we need, which is the subject, the course number, the class number, which is that section number, as well as the instructor email. So that's important to receive, as well as if the class has a wait list or the capacity, that kind of thing. We do mention that we need to have specific like statements from instructors saying if they approve over wait list, which is if there's a wait list and you're trying to get into it, and let's say there's a wait list and they only say enroll with standard enrollment, it means all enrollment rules apply and we can't enroll you over wait list. So if they approve and you just take that as, yes, I'm approved to take the class, that only means that we can only enroll you in standard enrollment rules. And so even though they say approve, we can only enroll you like on the wait list. So it's very specific, like what statements. So the form itself, we do recommend using because it prompts the instructor to make those statements. I mean, it cuts off the middleman, but you've emailed them, not a big deal. Just make sure you get that information so we have that. And you'll have to forward that information once they approve to our office. So the program 60 at osu.edu email for us to process. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate this form just so you can see what it looks like. It prompts you with the information, so it's really nice and efficient. So from here, it takes you to the form. It gives you some direct links, including this Find People directory. And that's really nice specifically for finding contacts for Ohio State instructors particular, just because you type in their name and it pops up with their email typically, but I'll show some other troubleshooting when that doesn't, like if their email doesn't pop up. But then also brings this picture of just a reminder of what information is needed from you to submit this instructor permission form. So it goes throughout this form. So you're going to click begin. You're going to type in your name. So I'm going to type in my name here and type in my last name number, and then I'm going to type in my email here. You're going to click next. And then you're going to want to make sure you type in click whatever campus you're looking for. So I'm going to put in Columbus. I'm going to click next. Yes, so I see a question in regards to instructor permission. So for instructor permissions, technically, yes, with classes for prerequisites. I still even though technically I say the technicality is you can self-enroll without instructor permission if there's no prerequisites. However, best practice, and I highly recommend regardless, is submitting instructor permissions, because sometimes, and I'll give a real life example, we had someone that self-enrolled in a class. The instructor saw I was a Program 60 participant. They said, hey, we need to drop this person. I can't take this person on. And unfortunately, since they didn't have the permission form in place, we had to drop them because there wasn't that communication. So the instructor permission form is like a second layer of defense in regards to making sure there's written documentation saying, yes, they approve you to take the class. And so that way there's no ifs, ands, or buts of them saying we need to drop you from the class. So even though, yes, you can enroll in classes without prerequisites, we highly recommend you submitting instructor permission forms just to have a layer of defense, and we can enroll you in class. And some people, regardless, they like to have our office submit, enroll for them. So we can do that too as well. All right, so we're going to go through, and there's a couple questions also in regards to instructors not being listed. We go over that in this section, so we'll go over it. So you'll click. So this section in particular, it lists different departments. These specific departments have other policies in place for Program 60. So this actually prompts them to respond with different policies that are in place. I can tell you with a lot of the language classes in particular, they won't let us enroll you in classes until the second week of classes. And that's just because of limited seats, credit earners, things like that, smaller class sizes. So this prompts them to be able to do X, Y, and Z. Otherwise, if your class, the subject isn't under one of these departments, you click all others on this section. From there, you're going to scroll down. This is the section where we wrote all that information when we search for classes. You type that here. So I'm just going to type in the art class here. I'm going to type in the 2100 because that's the course number, and class number is that 5-digit number. So I'm going to type in 19818. And then you're going to click next. And it's okay. Sometimes people get confused between the numbers. We understand we can flip them. This is more so just for our standpoint. So that way we can be accurate when enrolling in the right classes. So we'll click next. From there, this is where you submit, you input the instructor's contact information. The way to search it, one way is you're going to directly click this link here, and that takes you to the database to type in the instructor's name. So that's why in the class search, I always say write down the instructor's name and type that in. So I'm going to type in, just because I can, one of my friends that teaches the class. And it pops up here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll just type in this information here. And that pops up there. I don't know why it's not letting me copy and paste. So I'll just type in my information, but you'll copy and paste that email into there. Now, let's say their contact information doesn't pop up and you're like, why is that? Sometimes it's a TA, sometimes it's a GA, sometimes they're a brand new instructor that just popped in. Sometimes it doesn't pop it. So what I normally tell people, and this is kind of fun, is you'll actually go to Google and you'll type in the person's name. So I'll type in Lauren Fye, just because we're searching me, Ohio State University, and you'll type in whatever department they're with. For me, I'm just going to put in Ohio State University, and it should pop up for me, the Program 60 contact here. And lo and behold, it pops up there. Usually for instructors, if you type in their name and the department, Ohio State University, it pops up with their personal website through the university, and you click that, and it'll pop up with their contact information. Now, the question that popped up, and I'm going to answer this right now, is if the instructor isn't listed on there. What I recommend doing at that point is you go back to Google, and let's say the class you're looking for is under the art department. You're going to type in Ohio State University Art Department. And you're going to find the first website of their department. You'll click that link. And usually what will happen is if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, there is a general email. That's usually like advisors or like their admin team keeps an eye on that. You'll add that as the email address. And then from there, they'll be able to direct it to whoever. And so that's what I recommend doing when there's there's not instructor listed. I also recommend too is if, let's say, this contact information isn't here, you always want to try to find, like, sometimes they'll have a contact us section and you can reach out that way to get an email address to add. So it is a lot of navigation. We realize it's a little bit confusing, but those are kind of a couple tricks I come across that have helped people in the past. So we'll go ahead. We'll go back to where I'm at. Okay. So we'll go ahead and go back to the Program 60 enrollment form. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my name, last name, number, retype that instructor's name twice or the department email. And this is case sensitive. So like, let's say I messed up and let's say I messed up and I forgot the U. It's actually going to pop up saying the instructor emails don't match and you need to make sure you type that through. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. And then we're going to go through, if the class has a lab, so like any science classes like that have a lab with it, this is a section where you type in the very specific section number that is associated with the lab. But for this class, I don't have a lab with it. So I'm going to click no. I'm going to click summer. And this section right here, I mentioned in the past, like earlier in this webinar, this is a section where you sell yourself. Since we don't get transcripts and we don't outline different classes we're in and things like that, this is a section where you can say, I have this degree, I have this experience, or you talk about why you want to take the class, or, different things that might sell yourself to be in the class, or talk about your, level of engagement that you plan on being in the class, whether it be just listening to lectures, things like that. This is where you sell yourself. So since I'm, this is not really instructor permission for me, I'm going to say Program 60 orientation. And then you need to make sure you click submit. So once you click submit, it's going to send an email to you. So whatever email you put on there, it's going to send an email to our office. So we get that information, it helps us track. So we have all the information you inputted, and it sends directly an email to the instructor. From there, the instructor, once they receive it, and sometimes it depends, sometimes it's quick, they respond, sometimes I have to send them a reminder email. It just depends on the instructor. From there, they'll actually respond back to that form and they communicate with us. What will happen then is they'll say standard enrollment, they'll say approve over wait list or approve over closed, or sometimes it happens where they have to deny because they don't have enough seats. From there, I CC you in the email, and that gives you that communication. And then from there, I'll let you know once I've processed your enrollment, which means we're enrolling in class. So that's kind of how that process goes. So that's why I always say recommend using this. A little bit more streamlined. You have all the information, it prompts you the information you need to put in there, and it kind of just cuts out the middleman, and the instructor can communicate with us directly. All right. So we'll go ahead and we'll continue. I know there's a couple other questions. I'm going to answer those just for the sake of time towards the end. So we'll go from there. So I'm going to go ahead, and once we've enrolled some instructor permissions, and I've talked about some of these errors already where it's like, if you try to enroll, there's, different things that pop up, like if you didn't complete your financial responsibility statement, things like that. The nice thing with the instructor permission forms is our office checks your account once you submit that instructor permission, and we'll prompt you. If we see your account and say, oh, you need to complete FRS statement, you need to complete COVID-19, we'll let you know. So it's not like there's different reminders that'll come towards your way. So if you forget some of the stuff, it's okay. We all know we're learning. These are kind of some of the errors that come through. We submitted the instructor permission form. This is something I like to highly recommend you doing is when you submit instructor permission form, and once we receive approval or denial, things like that, reach out to the instructor, talk to them, say, this is my level of engagement in the class. This is what I plan on doing. Sometimes 9 times out of 10 instructors are going to be like, yes, that's totally cool, kosher. There's sometimes instructors that will be like, sometimes they'll be like, unfortunately, this might not be a good fit. We expect you to have this level of engagement in classes. We want you to take all exams, things like that. Or maybe sometimes we've seen it where instructors say, we only want you to listen to lectures. Doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. But that's just something to be mindful of too as well when you're going through. But I always say recommend communicating when you first, they say, okay, approved, talk with them throughout the term. If anything changes with your level of engagement, talk to them. All right. So from there, this last section. So this is the very last section. So once we've, enrolled in classes, you're officially enrolled, you can go in your Buckeye Link account and you check, see, I'm enrolled in the class as the back end way of just seeing as an admin standpoint. About a day or two after you're officially enrolled in the class, and the class has a fee associated with it. So looking at that class description, if it says a fee, that fee won't pop up until a couple of days after you're enrolled in class. So the way to look for that fee. So I'm going to show you how to look for the fee and how to pay for it. So we're going to go to Program 60 website. We're going to go back to Participate tab. And we're going to go to Step 7, which is the very last thing. And this is just check your account for fees. It's not saying you're automatically you're not going to have to pay for fees. It's just saying check your account. Because some classes don't have fees. So you're going to click Step 7. And it's going to pop up with a couple things. So sometimes, like one of the classes we searched has a digital books fee. If you communicate with the instructor saying, hey, I don't, is it required for me to have this digital book? If they say no, the way to opt out of that book, and you won't have to pay for that fee, is there's a link right here. And I usually send emails when you're enrolled that prompts you to opt out if you want to. And I also send reminder emails. There's a specific date you have to opt out by. It's usually the first Friday of the term. So you'll click this link here. And then it's going to pop up with this form. And you're literally just going to fill it out, put in your student ID number, which I'll show you where to find that. It's not your last name number, but basically it's in your Buckeye ID account. And you'll put in all the information you want to be able to, opt out for that class, put the session, the term, and then confirm and then submit. It's not an automatic opt out, so it does take a little bit to process. And if there's any issues or questions, you reach out to me. We can, help process that and get clarification. Now, regarding payment. So regarding checking your account for payment. So we're going to go ahead and we'll go to Buckeye Link. So click that link. And I'm going to show you 2 different ways to look for, if there's fees. So we're going to go to just your student, Buckeye Link. So you can type in up your student. And it's going to pop up and the tiles down here, my Buckeye Link. And this should look very familiar as this is like the one-stop shop. So looking over here holds to-do lists, things like that. To look if you have fees associated with the class, you go to this outstanding charges and it'll pop up with, a fee. So it shouldn't be a surprise to you. Like I said, if you look at the class description, it will pop up whatever fees are associated. So if the class has a fee and if maybe you don't plan on opting out of the book and maybe it's a fee that's materials fees, whatever, you can't opt out. This is where you can see, okay, this is a fee. If you want to look at it itemized, like what the fees are, you can click the statement of account, make sure you click whatever term the fee is. And you're going to click statement of account. And then it's going to itemize the fees. So that's kind of really quick way. It also pops up, this is that student ID account. So you can always pop up there if you look at that one way to copy and paste it into the opt-out form. But there's several different ways to find that. This also gives you opportunities to look at if you want to dispute a fee. You can call Buckeye Link. They're the ones that handle that kind of thing. There's also a direct link to pay for the fee here too as well. So let's say you've decided you're going to pay the fee. You're good, you're kosher. You're going to click this make a payment button, and it's going to prompt with 3 different ways to make a payment. You can mail a payment. If you want to set up a direct payment, like from your bank account, you can do that. But we recommend just make a payment through this first one, which is make a payment. So you're going to click that make a payment. And then from there, it's going to pop up with this online platform, and it's associated with any, with your account. So prompt you to log in, things like that. For me, you can see I have no fees associated with my account. But for you, if you have a fee, it's going to pop up here with your balance. So you'll know, okay, I have to pay this. So to pay it, you're going to go over here on this left-hand side, and you'll actually click this make a payment tab right here. And then from there, it's going to prompt you the next steps on how to pay it. So entering your whatever information is required to make that payment. You'll click through, and it'll prompt you to click submit, and it'll process it. And I'm pretty sure you get an email once you've completely submitted and processed it. So that's the way to go and pay that fee right here. Carmen books are all online. There's no hard copies. You can purchase hard copy books, but the Carmen books itself are digital. It's embedded in the class, which I'll kind of do a high level, looking into as well. So that's one way to pay for fees. Another way to pay for fees is if you go to Buckeye Link and pay fees, you type that in, go here, and there's that tab. You click that, and it takes you directly to pay a fee as well. Again, I always like going to your student account, because it just prompts you, okay, this is where the itemized bill is. This is just checking to make sure you're enrolled in class, things like that. But that's a quick, easy way to go pay that fee. I'm going to go back to student account so I can just show you one more thing as we're in here. So the nice thing about this too is, if you're in here paying for fees, things like that, you just want to make sure you check everything is good. Your account information down here, address. If there's any issues with when you first register to be in the program and you need to update your information, you reach out to us and we can help walk you through. But it's really good information, just have it down here. But fees, once you've paid the fee, it takes about a day for it to process, and it will pop up here as 100% paid. And then you should be good to go. But any other issues with fees, things like that, you can dispute it with Buckeye Link, and that contact information is on that statement account. All right. I know that's a lot, a lot of information. We're still going through several other things. So I recognize we're close to noon, so feel free, if you feel pretty confident, you can jump off, but I am going to still go over several, because we've had some really great questions. And I like to make sure everyone's all on the same page and understanding how things go. But basically, once you've paid for fees, you've completed your first enrollment in classes at Ohio State University through Program 16. And like I stated, after this first initial startup, the only steps you have to worry about is steps 4 through 7. So it ends up making it a little bit shorter. But as you keep on navigating and engaging with these platforms, it gets easier, I promise. So from there, once you've done that, this is kind of just a checklist, just making sure you've completed all those items. And again, we send emails if there's any updates or information that maybe you need to complete in order to process the enrollment. We are going to just do a couple of things. So once you've enrolled and you check on your student account that you're enrolled in a class on the Buckeye Link account, you're then going to go to this thing, which is called Carmen Canvas. And this is where you access your class. Now, for any class, in person and online, you have this, the class is set up on here. And this is where you submit assignments and things like that. So even if you're in class, they might have readings and things like that that are uploaded on this. So everyone's going to have access to this. Things I want to point out is once you're enrolled in class, it usually takes about 1 to 2 days for it to upload, the class to upload. However, if it's before the class starts, it won't upload, sometimes not until the weekend of. I've even seen it where an instructor hasn't published it until the day of class, sometimes 20 minutes right before the class starts. So If there's issues ever, you could always reach out to the Carmen Canvas support team, but that's just something just to look out for. But we're going to go ahead and we'll just log in just so you can kind of see. I also forward this information regularly, so like resources and videos, and I do workshops over like a higher extensive view of Carmen Canvas. So I do recommend you engaging in those. We'll go ahead and log into Carmen Canvas. I know there's someone in the chat said earlier about if there's a link, sometimes instructors will forward you a link, but you're going to actually have to go out of your way to type this in. I send emails just to check your Carmen Canvas. So this is a way to do that. So you're going to go in, you're going to log into Carmen Canvas, and every class looks different. There's so many different ways. Class, it's usually whatever classes you're enrolled in, it's going to pop up here as a link. So for me, I have 2 classes. I'm not active right now, so I don't have full extent, but this is what it will look like as active classes. So what you'll do is you'll click whatever class you want to log into. You'll click that. And then it's going to pop up with like this front home page. Every class looks different depending on how they design the class. But usually what you're going to want to do is you're going to just take time to go through all these tabs through here. There's sometimes announcements from the instructors here. Sometimes if the class needs to be canceled, they'll send it here. Different things like that. This section here is where you look at assignments. But again, I go for more extensive detail for this in workshops. So feel free to sign up for those as I send emails about those. But this is just something to kind of mess around. You won't have access until you're enrolled in classes. So it's not something you can log into and see like there's a class in there. So, all right, from there, we'll go ahead and move on through. This is just some PowerPoint slides over who to contact for certain questions. I usually send this in an email just so you have those. Those that have registered to be in the program, you've already saw my emails that shows you what to do for certain scenarios. But this lists every single contact. A really great program that we started up is our tech tutoring program. For those that maybe after listening to all this, maybe you're feeling a little overwhelmed with engaging with the Ohio State platforms, we recognize there's a lot of different capacities and like things that you have to do to be able to even participate. So tech tutoring is really great because it's our trained tutors that you get personalized attention with, and they basically help you navigate and learn the processes of utilizing Ohio State platforms. I do want to mention it's not necessarily for like a Program 60 twist to it. They're looking at as supporting you to engage with the Ohio State platform. So how to utilize Carmen Canvas, how to engage with Buckeye Link, how to utilize email, like Buckeye email, things like that. So that way you're successful engaging in these classes at a much more personal level. So if you're interested, reach out to that email address, the Program 60 email. We do send emails once we release the new dates, and we submit like information on how to call to set up an appointment that way. So it's a really great way for you to gain more experience. This list right here is just additional resources to you. I am going to just go to the Program 60 website just so you can see, the resources on the Program 60 website. I know I've been saying this like the whole time, but I'm telling you, the Program 60 website is awesome because if you navigate through it, we have all the information listed. So, the participate tab is what we've been under most of the time. This participant resources tab is really awesome because if you click it, it outlines specific, benefits as Program 60 participants. So what resources we have available. I know some of you didn't quite get to jump on our resource webinar we just had. We did record that, and that should be posted within the next week or so. And that has representatives from around campus that talked about what resources are available to the participants on campus and off campus. So it's really great. But it lists all those resources. It also lists different campuses too, what resources and contacts. I'm the main point of contact. I'm the Program 60 manager, but we do have coordinators at each of the regional campuses that you can contact with any information specifically about those campuses. I can provide an overview in regards to Program 60, but in regards to very specific classes or information that are geared towards specific campuses, I do recommend you reaching out to those, but it also outlines any specific benefits at each of their campuses. And then there's a section over parking and transportation. So there's multiple different ways. We have a cab system, which will pick you up from point A to point B, campus park. So one thing I want to mention is you can't purchase a parking permit until you're officially enrolled in classes. There's also hourly parking, so you could do that. We have a thing called paratransit, which if you have a medical necessity, they'll actually pick you up from your house, things like that. So it's a really great way, different accessibility points. But that's something I recommend to look through. We also have a frequently asked questions section. And then lastly, this online orientation. So this is recorded. So I will be posting the recording up here. We do currently have our spring orientations posted. It's the same information, just different dates. So you can feel free to reference that if you want to relook into different things. But we post all of our webinars and things like that on here. And then I'll be sending other emails regarding other updates we have. Couple other things I want to point out. We do have a Program 60 Association. It's not affiliated with Ohio State, but we do have a group of participants that started the association, that it's a social group that gets together at least quarterly. They host social events, but they're also go to different things to help support other participants be successful. It's a really great way. You can reach out with any questions regarding the association to the president, Louisa, and anything in regards to paying for the fees. I believe it's $5 for fees. So it's really minimal, but you can reach out to Anand for any questions regarding paying for membership. Again, it's a social group. It's not affiliated with us, but it's participants that host that too as well. But there's other tabs, but those are kind of the main ones. You can feel free to reference that. And like I said, I send emails frequently through Buckeye email with any updates regarding anything, resources, webinars I'm hosting, workshops, you name it. And this lists some of these that were posted. I have these group assistance sessions that basically is online, and we go more extensively into some of these topics, but even more. And it's a really great time. You get to know other participants too. And then I do have some workshops coming up in August. So basically for in person. So we do a lot of things virtually because availability and accessibility. And we recognize camping is kind of overwhelming on campus, but also the space availability on campus for a lot of the rooms with computers is very limited. And so our next workshop, in-person workshops we have is going to be August 7th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And that's one for a lot of beginners that maybe have a difficult time navigating a lot just from a minimal standpoint of setting up being a Program 60 participant, but also, just navigating how to, use computers, things like that. August 8th is our more extensive workshop, and that goes through a higher level in regards to going extensive into Buckeye Link, learning tips and tricks, how to navigate more extensively Carbon Canvas and other platforms. So it's a really great way to, get more hands-on if you like that hands-on. But then tech tutoring is also great if you like that one-on-one attention. And if you like the virtual assistance sessions, that's also a great way. I offer those more frequently because we're able to do so because, space isn't an issue.